The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the usual cacophony of alien voices, each species vying for dominance in the endless political theater that governed the known universe. Elsa Morgan stood at the human delegation's platform, her jaw clenched as the Vraxian ambassador's mandibles clicked in what could only be interpreted as laughter. "You expect us to believe," the Vraxian hissed, his translator rendering his contempt in perfect standard, "that your soft-skinned species can contribute meaningfully to the coalition forces. Your bones break under pressure. Your flesh tears like paper. You require specific atmospheric conditions just to breathe comfortably." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Krill representative, a towering crystalline being that refracted light into rainbow patterns, chimed in with a sound like breaking glass. "The humans have no natural armor, no venom, no ability to survive in vacuum even briefly. They are fragile." Elsa's knuckles whitened as she gripped the podium. 3 months. 3 months since humanity had been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Coalition, and still they faced this endless mockery. The other species saw Earth's forces as a joke, poorly armed, biologically inferior, destined to be cannon fodder in the eternal war against the Devourers. "If I may address the Council," Elsa said, her voice cutting through the noise with military precision. The chamber fell into a grudging silence. "Humanity requests assignment to the Craster Front. We understand it's considered a difficult posting." The Vraxian's laughter was genuine this time. "Difficult? The Craster system has seen 17 coalition defeats. The Devourers have fortified it beyond measure. We've lost entire fleets there, and you want to send your glass soldiers into that meat grinder." "Yes," Elsa replied simply. "So be it," the council mediator announced, its gelatinous form rippling with what might have been amusement. "Let the humans learn their limitations firsthand. Dispatch approved." Captain Kevin Ross reviewed the tactical display aboard the UCSS Indomitable, humanity's flagship in the Coalition fleet. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. No dramatic declarations, no posturing, just professionals doing their jobs. "Status report," Kevin ordered. "All 73 ships in formation, Captain," Lieutenant Chen reported. "The Ironclad Legion is ready for deployment. Coalition observers are. Well, they're watching us like we're about to explode." Kevin allowed himself a slight smile. The Coalition had assigned observers to document humanity's inevitable failure. Let them watch. "Broadcast to all ships," Kevin commanded. "Commence Operation Hammerfall." What the Coalition didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, was that humanity's perceived weakness had driven them to become the most dangerous kind of opponent, the kind that couldn't afford to fight fair. The Devourers had been monitoring the approaching fleet, their organic ships pulsing with bioluminescent anticipation. They'd fought Coalition forces for centuries. They knew how this would go: the energy-based weapons, the shield-to-shield grinding matches, the eventual retreat when losses became untenable. They did not know about the Ironclad Legion. "Enemy fleet detected," the tactical officer announced. 147 Devourer bioships, ranging from frigate to dreadnought class. They're forming their standard envelopment pattern. "Excellent," Kevin said. "They're predictable. Release the Ironclad." DS. From the belly of every human ship, deployment pods launched into the void. The Coalition observers watched with confusion as thousands of metallic cylinders scattered across the battlefield, each no larger than a personal vehicle. Then they opened. The ironclad combat suits were humanity's answer to biological inferiority. Each suit stood 3 meters tall, a fusion of Earth's most advanced technology: carbon fiber-laced titanium exoskeletons, microfusion reactors, adaptive AI coprocessors, and enough weaponry to level a city block. Inside Ironclad Unit Alpha 7, Elsa Morgan synchronized with her suit's neural interface. The sensation was always jarring. Suddenly her body extended beyond flesh and bone into something far more capable. Sensor feeds flooded her consciousness. Thermal imaging, electromagnetic spectrum analysis, gravitational distortion detection. "All units, this is Alpha 7, she transmitted. "Remember your training. No glory-seeking, no heroics. We fight as a unit or we die as individuals. Formation Delta 3. Acknowledgements flashed across her HUD as 1,200 ironclad troopers formed into precision strike teams. The coalition had laughed at human fragility, but they'd never seen humans when they decided to wear their weapons instead of just carrying them. The Devourer fleet surged forward, their bioships spewing clouds of acid spores and launching bone-shard projectiles. Standard coalition ships would have raised shields, returned fire with energy weapons, and begun the slow, grinding exchange. The ironclads did something different. They accelerated. Using miniaturized fusion thrusters, the combat suits reached velocities that would have turned unprotected humans into paste. But inside their armored cocoons, the pilots were protected by inertial dampening fields and shock gel suspension systems. Elsa's team hit the first Devourer frigate like a meteor shower. Her suit's AI calculated optimal impact points, structural weak points where the organic armor was thinnest. She fired her maneuvering thrusters at the last second, redirecting her momentum into a controlled collision. The impact would have killed an unprotected human instantly. Inside the ironclad, Elsa barely felt it. Her suit's pile drivers activated, punching through the bioship's hull. Then came the real horror, humanity's gift for creative destruction. "Plasma charges placed," Elsa reported, her suit already launching away from the Devourer vessel. Around her, 11 other ironclads evacuated the frigate in perfect synchronization. "Fire in the hole," someone transmitted, and the frigate's internal structure superheated to plasma temperatures in less than 2 seconds. The bioship's own fluids boiled, creating pressure that tore it apart from within. Aboard the Coalition observer ship, the Vraxian ambassador's mandibles hung open in shock. What did they just do? They boarded an enemy vessel, planted internal explosive devices, and evacuated before detonation, the ship's AI reported clinically. Estimated time from initial contact to vessel destruction, 47 seconds. That's impossible. No species can survive that kind of acceleration, that kind of impact. Apparently, humans can when they're wearing those suits. Across the battlefield, the pattern repeated. Devourer ships that expected long-range energy exchanges instead found themselves swarmed by armored humans who fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. They used tactics considered suicidal, boarding actions against ships 10 times their size, operating in the hard vacuum without tethers, deliberately allowing themselves to be swallowed by larger bioships only to tear them apart from the inside. Kievan watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The Coalition had mocked humanity's soft bodies, never realizing that humans had spent their entire evolution learning to compensate for physical weakness with tools, technology, and tactics. "Captain, the Devourer dreadnought is moving to engage," Lieutenant Chen reported. "It's massive, sir, 3 kilometers long. Our conventional weapons won't." "I'm aware, Lieutenant. Signal the indomitable battle group. Prepare the kinetic lance." The Coalition observers frantically transmitted to their governments, trying to explain what they were witnessing. Humanity's fleet wasn't fighting like a Coalition force. They were fighting like something else entirely, something that understood warfare not as a test of honor or displays of strength, but as a problem to be solved with engineering and ruthless efficiency. The Devourer dreadnought had survived dozens of Coalition assaults. Its armor was meters thick, its organic weapons capable of dissolving entire ships. It advanced on the human fleet with the confidence of something that had never met its equal. Elsa's team regrouped near the Indomitable, their ironclad suits scarred but functional. Alpha 7 to command, requesting orders. "Stand by, Alpha 7, Kevin responded. "You're about to witness what happens when humans build weapons meant to kill planets." The Indomitable and 6 other human capital ships aligned themselves in perfect geometric formation. Between them, a construct assembled from pure force fields and exotic matter, a magnetic acceleration tunnel nearly 15 kilometers long. "Kinetic lance charged," the weapons officer reported. "Projectile loaded." The projectile was simple, a tungsten carbide rod, 3 meters long and half a meter in diameter, massing approximately 2 tons. No explosives, no complex systems, just a very dense object about to be accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. Fire. The kinetic lance didn't glow or make dramatic sounds in the vacuum of space. It simply released its payload, and physics did the rest. The tungsten rod crossed the distance to the Devourer dreadnought in under a second. When a 2-ton object impacts at relativistic velocity, the result isn't an explosion. It's a fundamental rearrangement of matter. The kinetic energy exceeded that of a tactical nuclear weapon. The dreadnought didn't explode so much as it ceased to exist as a coherent structure, vaporized by the sheer kinetic force. Silence filled the coalition observation channels. "By the eternal archives," the Krill observer whispered, They weaponized velocity itself." The remaining Devourer fleet, for the first time in recorded history, retreated. Their organic hive minds had calculated something that made them override their usual berserker instincts. The humans were too dangerous. As the Ironclad Legion returned to their deployment ships, Elsa allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Her suit's medical monitors showed elevated heart rate, minor bruising, nothing that wouldn't heal. She'd survived what should have been a suicide mission without significant injury. "All units sound off," she commanded. The responses came in rapidly. Out of 1,200 ironclad troopers, they'd lost 37, a casualty rate that would have been considered miraculous by coalition standards. Aboard the observation ship, the Vraxian ambassador struggled to compose a report to the council. How did one explain that the fragile humans had just achieved what 17 coalition fleets had failed to accomplish? "They jeered at the human troops," the Krill observer said quietly. "We all did. We thought their soft bodies made them weak." "We were fools," the Vraxian admitted. "We never considered that a species aware of its physical limitations would simply engineer them away. They don't compensate for weakness. They weaponize their vulnerability by refusing to accept it." Kevin accepted the incoming transmission from the council mediator. The gelatinous being appeared on his view screen, its form rippling with what Kevin had learned to recognize as respect. "Captain Ross, the council apologizes for its earlier assessment. We would like to discuss expanded human participation in coalition military operations." "Of course," Kevin replied diplomatically. "Though I should mention that the Ironclad Legion represents only one of humanity's military programs. We have several others we've been developing." The mediator's form went very still. "Several others." Kevin smiled. "Humanity has spent millennia learning to survive on a planet that actively tries to kill us, mediator. We've fought wars against ourselves with such ferocity that we nearly destroyed our own world multiple times. The Devourers are dangerous, certainly, but compared to humanity's capacity for creative violence, they're amateurs." As the transmission ended, Elsa's voice came through on a private channel. "Captain, permission to speak freely." "Granted." "Did we just terrify our own allies?" Kevin chuckled. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan, we just demonstrated that humanity deserves a place at the table, whether that place is as allies or something else. Well, that's for the politicians to figure out. And if they decide they're more afraid of us than the Devourers." Then they'll learn what every human already knows. It's better to have us with you than against you. In the darkness of space, the Ironclad Legion stood ready, humanity's answer to a galaxy that had underestimated them. They had jeered at the human troops, mocked their fragility, dismissed their potential. They wouldn't make that mistake again.